The following video was sponsored by the Greek American Heritage Society of Philadelphia, preserving and promoting our community's history.
Many of us Greeks can recall a time when we would hear the stories from our immigrant parents and grandparents of the harsh realities of life in Greece during World War II and the Greek Civil War. We would walk for miles to school, or we had no shoes or food. These are the memories that still echo in our minds. For most, that reality is inconceivable for us today here in America. Our guests today walked nearly 15 miles a day to attend high school, an hour and a half each way. Arguably, that determination for an education was a metaphor for his life. He went on to earn a D.V.M, then to graduate school in the USA, where he earned a Ph.D. in biochemistry. In 1972, he invented a new drug called Albendazole, which was used against parasite, AIDS, and cancer. You can Google V.J. Theodorides and Albendazole and read all about it today. He worked diligently for many years, raised a family, and was part of several Greek American communities from Boston to Philadelphia. By the 1990s, his family's ancestry and journey had reawakened, and he decided to explore the history of the Pontian Genocide. But for Dr. Theodorides, there had to be more. The Pontian Genocide needed to be memorialized. Today, in front of St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church in Upper Darby, the first monument stands in remembrance to the ancestors of Pontos. Along with many others, Theodorides and his generation of Greek immigrants made this dream a reality. Dr. Theodorides, welcome to Cosmos Philly.
Thank you very much.
Doctor, let me start with one question about these 15 miles a day you walked as a young man. What was going through your head every day walking to school 15 miles back and forth?
At that time, one thing was in my mind: to go and attend my classes diligently, every day, every hour, and try to prepare so to respond to the questions of my professors.
So you were very
I was very focused, and I am a person who really focus on certain items and try to complete that before I start anything else.
Now you grew up in Greece, and you were born in Greece, and getting to high school was quite a challenge also, because I think it was following World War II. Tell us about life in Greece for you and your family, and where your family came from first.
I grew up in Konstantia, a small village, farm village, and our main product at that time was tobacco. And to process tobacco is very difficult for people who don't know. They cannot understand it. Besides, prepare the plants, you have to transplant them in the farms, and you have to use all kind of cultivation to water them, to grow, and then eventually we visit the farm almost once a week and collect certain number of leaves from the plant and process them during the day. The collection of the leaves used to be between 12 a.m. and about sunrise, because if you stay during the sun is out, you are going to have very difficult to process the leaves because they stick to each other. So, a difficult life.
Tell us a little bit about your family ancestry and where they were from.
My father was born in Adabazar, which is a town across from Konstantinopol, just driving the bridge Galata, and is in the other side. Originally, his family, Papu, came from Kotiora, or Ordu as is known. My mother was born in Merzefunda. Merzefunda is a town near Amisos or Samsunda, and Merzefunda is known for the Anatolia College. The Anatolia College, of course, at the end of 1923, moved from Merzefunda to Thessaloniki. So my wife's uncles and her father, all three are graduates of Anatolia College.
Your village, roughly when you were a teenager, was occupied by the Germans. Can you talk about life back then directly with the Germans and how you got along with them?
I was 10 years old when the Germans occupied Greece. I can recall one day, early morning, German soldiers, maybe 400 to 500 of them, they circled the village and they called the entire population, 1,600 people, men, women, and children, to the square of the village. And then they said, anybody who has guns, come forward and bring their guns. And I recall 2 people did not bring shotguns they did not bring them. They went and checked their houses and they found the shotguns and they killed both of them in front of us. They tied them in a tree, actually apricot tree, and they shoot them in about 6 or 7 meters away. They killed them in front of the whole population. In our house, 3 soldiers, German soldiers, came to check, and this is a true story what I'm telling you. A German soldier entered in one of the 4 bedrooms in the house. When closed the door, he saw a shotgun was hanging behind the door. So when he came out, he told me, he showed me I should take that gun and hide it. When they left, I took it and I threw it into the bushes at the end of the property. So my father was saved because of that action of a good German soldier.
Were there any, were you going to school while the Germans were occupying the village?
In 1941, we had the right to take an entrance examination to the high school from the 4th grade of elementary school. And I believe I attended 2 months, and then they closed down. And we came back until 1945, after the Germans left the country.
You had one other memory in regards to the Germans occupying your village. They left you with something very valuable to your family historically, your first photograph record, visual record of your life. Can you talk about that?
Actually, that happened in 1947. A German soldier took the picture, and that picture represents 3 generations. And my father and mother and my grandfather and grandmother, myself, my sister, and a cousin were in that picture. That is my first picture, by the way.
First photograph.
Yeah, the first photograph ever.
You then became very interested in going to high school, and there was a significant moment that took place with your family to get you to high school. Can you talk about how you got into high school?
My father gave me one gift of 2 small books. One was arithmetic, and the other was grammar, grammatiki. So I had those books with me wherever I went, whether I went to the mountain to bring down wood, or I took the cow out to graze so that we can have milk at night. I had those books with me all the time. But in 1945, my father, at that time, he was also a cattle merchant. He was buying and selling animals, either for meat or for to raise them for milk production, either goats or cows. And I left about 200 lambs in the public pasture, and I walk 11 kilometers to take the entrance examination. Actually, that test was placement test. And when I reached the high school, I walked the stairs and I knocked the door with shorts, and I had shoes all made from rubber. And I had also the shepherd's stick with me. And professor comes out and says, "What can I do for you?" And I said, "I came to take the placement test." He said, "We finished that as soon as the Germans left the country." That was sometime in May, and I went there probably July.
Did your parents know that you had gone to take the test?
No, they didn't know.
They didn't
left
know.
the animals by themselves.
Just took off.
Took off. And I was ready to start walking down the stairs. The Professor Fardoulis comes out and says, "Just a minute, let me go downstairs and maybe I find some professors to give you the test." So he went downstairs, came upstairs with two, one mathematician and one philologist. And he himself was a theologian. The theologian asked me a question, theology question. He said, "God created the world in 6 days. What kind of days were they? It was like 24 hours? I said, "No, they probably were 6 months, maybe in duration, or a year." He said, "Bravo, παιδί μου," and I'll continue. The professor of mathematics told me a mathematical problem. He said, a farmer put 5,000 drachmas in the bank at 5%. At the end of the year, how much money he makes? And I told him immediately, $250. He said, no, I'd like you to go to the blackboard and write what you're going to do. So I went to the board and I say, 100 drachmas, 5 drachmas he will make. If you put 5,000, how much? It's enough. And then the professor of philology asked me about the Mesolongi, how the exodus of Mesolongi, how the people of Mesolongi tried to break through the Ottoman soldiers. And I answered that question also, and that was. They told me bravo, and I left. I walked back home.
And you had to go home and tell your parents.
And I told my parents that I left the animals in the pasture.
How old were you when this took place?
Well, in 1945, I was 14 years old.
14 years old.
Yeah. You like to hear the rest? It's getting better. It's getting better. At the end of 6 months, my mother knew some people in the place was the high school in Aridea. And she went and asked them if they can keep me for 6 months. Because my mother was with these people in 1920 in exile, the well-known exiles in Asia Minor by the Kemalists and other Ottoman authorities. She walked from Mirzafunda to Diyarbakir.
How far is that?
That is about 500 miles or more.
Is that part of those death marches, as they're called?
That's right. And she went through different cities. About 7,000 people, she said about 500 were saved. In 1923, she walked with these people who kept me for 6 months from Diyarbakir to Aleppo, which is well known now.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And from Aleppo, took a ship to the Piraeus, and that place she recognized her uncle, her mother's brother, and then the two of them found the rest of the family, someplace in Peloponnese, I think.
Well, let's talk about your academic career from high school through arriving here in America. Let's talk about high school for you. Let's start there.
Well, in 1945, I entered with test the first grade of high school. There are 6 grades. So in September, I started the first grade, and for 6 months, from September to February, I was walking every day back and forth. And in February, the principal approached me and said if I like to take a placement test to go to the 2nd grade. I took the test, I passed it, and I started the 2nd grade. So in June, I was promoted to the 3rd grade. So in September 1946, I started.
So you moved academically forward in high school very quickly.
So I finished the 3rd grade in Aridea, and then in 1947, February 10, the communists, the Andarte, they burned down our village, Konstantia, and they killed about 48 people. Some were relatives. With that, in 1947, I was transferred to Thessaloniki, and I was staying with a sister of my mother's, and I attended the 6 boys' high school in Thessaloniki.
What was it like for you to see your village gone, and then did your family push you off and say you have to get out of here, you have to move on? Did you want to stay with your family to be with them, or did you want to get to Thessaloniki to pick up your education?
The truth is that I wanted with anything to finish high school. That was my dream. So I had no difficulty going to Thessaloniki and concentrating again in my curriculum. I finished the 4th and the 5th year of high school, and I was good in mathematics, I was good in physics, good in chemistry, but I was not good in composition. One professor approached me in 1948, and he said, this year you should not go to village and come and I'll teach you how to write composition. And I told him I don't have money. He said, who asked you money? You come, we eat, and we do it. So this man, Professor Polymenis, I will never forget, he helped me to reach my maximum when it comes for education. He taught me all these things. And I recall in 1950, when I graduated from high school, I did not prepare myself for university, and at that time was shortage of teachers, and I was appointed substitute teacher to Theodorides, and that was a good place for me to prepare for the next year. In 1951, I took the entrance examination. I prepared my application, I went to university, the administration building.
You had an interesting situation take place. Was it a timely thing that happened, or did you actually get into the school?
No, you have to take entrance examination. But I had the application to go and study mathematics. And when I saw a lady in the first floor of the university in the administration building, and I say, where is the physical mathematical school? And she said, what's wrong with the veterinary school? It was a brand new school. It started a year ago. And I left the application there.
So you ended up going to veterinary school instead of to the mathematics?
I was not even prepared for that. But I went and took the entrance examination there. Sunday was composition, and then Monday was physics, Tuesday was chemistry, and Wednesday was biology.
What was life like for you now? You're in Thessaloniki, you're in the veterinary school, you're a young man, you'd never left the villages. What was it like for you?
I was so concentrated in my schooling. I did not go even to movies, nothing. I was an unknown entity. Come to my aunt's place, and in the morning go to school, come and prepare yourself. So it was a very routine thing for me. I have no thinking about it.
How did you do in school?
I was doing very well, except composition, as I said. I was doing very well. And, but with the entrance examination in the veterinary school, that composition, Professor Polymeni's work, it helped me enormously. I wrote the first composition among 682 candidates. Supposedly to enter 30, we entered 29. And I have the evidence to show you that I am number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah. I had fun in veterinary school. All the professors loved me because I am the type who memorizes. And in biology and veterinary school, it's nothing but memorizing. And eventually you have to weed out all the symptoms and find the specific symptoms for a disease to make diagnosis. That is the number one thing for a doctor, to make diagnosis. And you have to find the symptoms specific for the disease, because many symptoms, every disease almost has a fever, so that is meaningless. Every disease has the ability to slow down eating in epidemics, But you have to find those symptoms which are called pathognomonic symptoms. In Greek it's pathognomonica, in English it's pathognomonic, the same word. So the professors loved me, and when I graduated, I got an appointment.
Tell us about that.
Assistant to the professor of surgery immediately. So, but during that period of time, I met my wife.
Your future wife.
Future wife.
Now, she was from where?
She was from Thessaloniki.
Thessaloniki.
Yeah. We are engaged in 3 days after I got met her.
You didn't waste any time.
No, it just,
How old? You couldn't have been more than 20...
23, 24, yeah.
Young man, 24, you're engaged to be married.
Yeah, and still I was going to school. I was in the 4th year of veterinary school. So, I help also another professor of medicine and learning now how to work in a lab. And he was working, I recall, the effect of copper deficiency in the development of animals. That is unique research that man was doing.
Did you like working in a lab? Is that something that really...
I liked it. Very challenging.
Yeah. And were you a curious person too?
Very curious person. And that eventually helped me to make a decision. I have to have a Ph.D, a doctor's degree. In Greece, without doctor's degree, you are assistant all the time. So,
is that how you came to America? That's what brought you?
I decided to come here because my fiancé family immigrated here. So I came here.
Where did you settle?
I settled in Boston, and I applied to BU, and they said you cannot attend courses because you don't know English. So they told me I have to take English for foreign students. But the professor who was teaching this English to the foreign students told me, you better go and attend regular biology and medical courses.
Oh, so he was pushing you through.
Yeah. And I will send the grade, he said, inside, don't worry about it.
So were you married now when you arrived, or did you come alone?
No, I married immediately after I arrived here.
Okay. So you and your wife were set up in Boston.
Yeah.
And now you're working on your Ph.D.
Master's degree.
Your master's degree.
And then Ph.D.
And was your master's degree was at Boston University?
At Boston University.
And you finished it there?
I finished there, and I finished my Ph.D. there.
Also at Boston University.
Yeah. I finished my Ph.D. within 2 years.
2 years?
2 years. You take 75 hours at 10 courses, and I did real research, and I wrote a thesis, I defended the thesis, all in 2 years.
And then you found yourself in
I have a degree in 1963.
63, and you're looking for work.
But something we did not say, let me say, and you is that 9 months after I came to this country, with deferment of my military service, the Greek government revoked my passport.
They revoked your passport?
Revoked my passport. The immigration immediately informed me, you have 2 weeks to leave the country, or show cause why we should keep you here. And we didn't know what to do. I have the documents, I'll show you. Sula and we wrote a letter, and if you read the letter, you see our English was not very good. And Eisenhower's office responded. They sent a letter to the immigration office. The director invited me and told me what to do. To find a good lawyer, he said. And I was doing diagnostic work at Harvard Medical School at that time. And he said, go to Harvard, not to BU. And we found a lawyer. He came. He dictated, the secretary typed, and they didn't sign it. And this letter was saying that what I'm doing for Harvard Medical School and all the patients who come there in the hospital, nobody else can do this.
Wow.
So within 48 hours after the submission, I got my green card without leaving this country.
Well, that's an amazing story too.
Yeah. So I have the FOI. I'm going to write something about that. 95 pages documentation is there to get that.
And what year was this?
1958.
58.
Yeah.
Well, let's move forward now and talk about your life after you arrived in the United States and your career.
Well, in 1958 we got married, and the first child came in 1959. So I'm a graduate student, we have a child and a wife, 3 people, and we are make a good living because I was promoted to an instructor and brings, at that time, good money.
The instructor at where?
At PU.
At PU.
Yeah.
Okay.
So after I defended my research and got the degree in my hand, and I was called doctor, we decided to look around. And very difficult to find a good paying job at the time. So I found a job with Pfizer and Company, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in Terre Haute, Indiana. So I went there first while my wife was in Boston.
What year was that?
It was in 1963.
63
in Terre Haute, Indiana.
A lot of Greeks out there?
There are 2 families, and one of the men was the mayor of Terre Haute, Indiana.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. All of 2 families, but one was the big boss.
So over there, I found a house, so I rented, and I started the research. And I was to do testing of chemicals synthesized by variety of chemists. And one chemical up there came active in a mouse parasite system, but every time I put it into the sheep and small pigs, all these artificially infected, the chemical was not giving any activity, and I thought maybe something is happening. I thought the chemical probably was hydrolyzed and losing its structure. So what I did, I dissolved it into acidic environment. And when I gave this to the animals, I got better activity. So I called the chemist, told him that you should prepare the tartaric acid. Of course, that was the biggest mistake I make, because tartaric acid is a huge molecule. And he prepared that. To this day, that medication, pyrantel tartrate, they did not make the hydrochloride, was very active, is in the marketplace all around the world for animals, horses, and human beings. It's very good. Actually, a book was written, and I'll show you afterwards about this medication. Anyway, my wife came, and immediately she said she doesn't like this environment there.
So soon after you arrived and were doing your work, you brought the wife and the kid.
And she said she doesn't like it. So what we did, I'm looking for a job. And I found one here. The university was giving me a job. And SmithKline and French Laboratories, pharmaceutical company.
University of Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
So right away, you only spent how long in Terre Haute?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
Right back
1965, we are here. And I got the job with SmithKline and French Laboratories because they told me that I can also have a joint appointment to University of Pennsylvania. And this thing happened. I was teaching, doing research, and they needed exactly a veterinarian with research experience. They wanted to develop veterinary medicines. Mm-hmm. And in 1972, one day, in the other house, I was reading a paper, and I was inspired. And I sat down and designed a new chemical.
Is this the
Albendazole?
Albendazole that you're known for.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So this is the way it came about, an inspiration from somebody else's work. I read the paper and I designed this.
What paper? What was it? A newspaper?
No,
a paper.
A paper on another drug.
Okay.
And that helped inspire me. I sat down immediately and I designed this new chemical.
Just like that?
Like that, yes.
It came to you like that? Oh.
I designed it when, because I'm very good in organic chemistry. It helped me, I guess, to do this. And you know that Louis Pasteur said that God helps the minds which are prepared. And if you are prepared, God helps you.
Tell us a little bit more about the drug now.
Now the drug,
what did it do? How was it
this
implemented?
drug, after I tested it, initially it showed tremendous activity. The spectrum went outside of what we call roundworms, went to the tapeworms, went to the flukes. These are the type of worms which infect animals and man. And I tested it for 3 months without a budget, everything under the table, small number of animals. You know, you cannot run statistics on those things. But my confidence went through the ceiling. And now I presented it to SmithKline people, and the lawyers came and they wrote a patent application. And they got a response, and they said, this is not patentable. You cannot patent this. Okay, I read their letter. The letter was very good from the patent office, was begging data. And these lawyers did not present any data. So I gave them the data. They went, we got a new composition of matter, and for 20 years, medical use. And I tested all the biology of this variety of animals, from mice to horses to swine, and all the toxicology from mice, rats, rabbits, guinea pigs, sheep, cattle.
How long did all this take?
Well, in 1979, we got approval to sell it in Australia and in New Zealand. But the United States, we had to wait because they said this chemical is carcinogen. And everybody got disappointed, but me. I read the FDA's letter, and I told the management that we should go back to FDA, and I'm sure we're going to take it through. We went there, the room full of people, from our side and from their side, and first the FDA people talk, and then I talk, and I was able to convince them that their mathematical approach in evaluating the carcinogenicity of this product, i.e. albendazole, is not correct.
So you convinced the FDA?
I have convinced the FDA that this is a good chemical, it should reach the marketplace.
So they rescinded what they said.
And I helped them, by the way. I told them to save face. These are, by the way, documented. I have a book downstairs. The Congress of the United States investigate this fiasco, and my name is all over there too. I have downstairs the book.
You don't think there was a conspiracy by some other drug company to...
Incompetency. I can tell you afterwards why they show signs of incompetency. So I proved to them that this is safe. Within 4 months, we got... No, before we go to that, I told them to save face. You don't have to make the decision. We have to bring scientists from outside, from the government, from the toxicology program of the government, and from the NIH, the National Institute of Health people, and we give them the summary, which you have in front of you, and let them make the decision. And the director of FDA, she says, Vassilios is right. We're going to revisit this. And I prepared this with 13 different mathematical analyses and statistical analysis, and we took it there. Guess what? A three-member committee called me noontime one day, September, and says, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to have lunch. He says, no, don't have lunch. Go and have beer. He said, albendazole is approved. Wow. Guess what? One of those 3 people were a good friend of mine. And he called me immediately. Well, everybody was celebrating new jobs open, around the world.
It changed
the whole thing. The veterinary division became a very big thing now around the world. And I was doing for several years, going around the world and talk about this medication. I went to China for 10 days. I lectured there.
But you invented, launched, and promoted the drug for years.
Yeah. But this is all, you need all kind of specialties, but I was the moving power behind it, mentally and otherwise, because I did all the toxicology, the most important research, all the biology. Biology means the activities, why is useful this drug. So this brought me, of course, enormous recognition among my colleagues, different scientists, and even the Greek veterinary medicine people make me a member of the national, honorary member of the National Society. And Mr. Psomiadis, in 2009, he recognized me in front of people. I think I sent you the write-up, gave me the silver bust of Alexander the Great. Here is.
So that was one of your inventions. There were several others.
There were several others, but this
is the big one. And this is why you were at Pfizer?
In Greek we say, επισκίασε τα άλλα.
And this is why you were at Pfizer?
I started with Pfizer, and this was here.
And well, the drug you invented, was it owned by Pfizer then?
It was by Pfizer, yeah. That was different than this. Yeah. So that really put me on the map and recognized by everybody. And you can see the recognitions here. Right.
So you got many awards from different organizations.
IHEPA recognized me as in medicine, and the rest of the societies here.
In summary, albendazole had worldwide implications that we've talked about briefly. The drug is still in use today. Exactly where is it most effective and how is it being used?
Albendazole is used in human medicine today all around the world to control major diseases, parasitic diseases, and especially with patients who suffer from AIDS. Two organisms, one infects their lungs and one infects their intestine. Albendazole kills both of these organisms. It doesn't cure them from the AIDS virus, but keeps them alive. So I say maybe 40% of the people who are alive with AIDS, they take albendazole.
Wow, remarkable.
Also, albendazole is used extensively in human medicine. Children, for example, who receive one dosage, their IQ goes up. Albendazole also helps in the elimination of elephantiasis. Is a parasitic disease which make the legs of the people who have the infection become swollen and corrugated like elephant skin. That's the reason they call it elephantiasis. So, besides that, lately, albendazole is being tested extensively for treatment of cancer, not control, treatment of cancer, especially ovarian cancer, colorectal cancer, liver cancer, and small cell carcinomas of the lungs. In other words, people who smoke. So I'm very proud.
My thought is all these awards or all these accolades, a Nobel Prize, is it in the future? Is it a possibility?
As you know, Nobel Prize is given only to living people. And sometimes you are next to it and you're not going to get it, but while you are alive, you hope. And a good example I told you, the giant Kazantzakis, he did not get Nobel Prize. So these things sometimes work peculiarly.
Well, let's talk about your personal life now a little bit more, your community. After these wonderful achievements, something very near and dear to your heart, your own history, your own culture became something to seek out and research and to be part of. Tell us about your involvement with the Pontian Genocide.
Yeah. Well, finally my mother, she came and visited us here for 6 months. And one day I had a map of Asia Minor.
And that was what year?
About 89.
1989.
And she sat down with me and asked questions. What happened in Turkey at that time? She said one day they came and corralled all the people of the Merzefunda, and then from other villages as they're moving to nowhere, to the road which led to nowhere, and they are going through other towns. This line of people, this flock of people became about 7,000 people, she said. And she saw the way to Diyarbakir. She saw old people to die, mothers to throw the children to the road, and wolves were following this swarm of people and eating up whatever left. In 1923, she heard that now the war's finished and you can return to your country. So the group of Greeks went to Aleppo, and from there by ship to Piraeus, and then she met her family someplace in Peloponnese.
When were you first aware of that story? When she came here in '89?
First time, actually, I learned Pontian history here in the United States.
Mm-hmm. So she didn't talk about her past much?
I never heard them. I say that maybe they didn't have time. They didn't have time to concentrating in making their living with a small amount of land. Try to ends meet. It was not an easy thing.
How did that story affect you then?
Well, it affected me, and I think I helped my children to think that way, to value money and try to be careful with your whatever you have, your belongings. So it helped me enormously to be careful.
And the story of your mother's journey on the death marches, did that inspire you somehow?
That inspired me. And I went, and I have books here in my possession, which I never knew exist, about Pontian history, about stories, pictures. I would never like Pontian music until I came to this country.
Well. So from that period on, you spent a few years doing research about Pontian history, continued research.
Research on that. And one day in the church, Mr. Mastoridis, Christos Mastoridis, told me, Vasily, we need you. You have to come to our society, Pontian society. And that's the way I came down there, probably the year 2000. And 2001, earlier, in 1998, I heard Haralambidis from Greece was giving a lecture, and he said, it's time the Pontians of America should have a mnemio, a monument, a genocide monument. And that struck me, and I brought it up to the meeting in the society, and the board authorized immediately. And 2001 was that authorization. So I established a committee, and we looked for space to erect the monument. And I found the cemetery, the Arlington Cemetery. These people were very kind to me. They have a monument, a small monument, which ours is a copy of that.
Which cemetery is that?
Arlington, on State Road.
Okay, in Drexel Hill, right there.
Yeah.
There's a monument similar to that one.
I mean,
Dedicated to the same.
where the Greek section is up there, one of these monuments. That was the beginning, and then they designed it. They give me the blueprint,
Right.
And they offered me a space also there. But the Pontian Society did not like that. They offered space free to erect that there, and I took that. And Mr. Karamalengos was helping me there. You know Peter Karamalengos? He was a very, very nice of him. He put these blueprints into the computer, and we saw how it's going to look. And after a while, I met Anastasiadis, you know, the builder, but he an artist.
Right,
so
he paints.
Yeah,
He's a
paints.
very well-known
Very
painter.
well-known. And we started, and now we need money. As you know, the society authorized $25,000 initially. I was able to get another $5,000 from them, and I raised $41,000 by myself.
Tell us a little bit about the design. How did you guys come up with that specific design? It's very unique.
Design was done by the people at the Arlington.
I see.
Yeah, and then we took the design, and Gianotti, the guy who designed the monocephalous eagle on the top, and Anastasiadis, and Peter used to put all these things into the computer. So, you know, and so it was evolved, this monument. The eagle, we put it because one of the priests who was on St. George, he recommended it. Yeah. And then I came up with the Panagia Sumela, and they designed it, the Anastasiadis supervised that thing.
The time frame from conception to production was
5 years.
5 years to produce
5 years to produce the monument and have also revealing it up there.
And it was originally put forth in a dedication ceremony, as we know at St. Sophia, which
was the 10th of September 2006.
Right, and we had some dignitaries here for that.
In the Metropolitan, we had political people, we had letters from Greece, from important politicians.
How did you feel that day? What was your thoughts?
That day, I think I was flying in the heaven. I was up high, cloud 9? I was so pleased what happened on that day. And I said, that's the way I am, honestly, God, that's what I'm doing. I start something, I like to finish it. I'm going to tell it openly. People did not believe that that monument will become reality.
And today it stands as one of 2 monuments in North America. The first one, as we said in our introduction. A final thought here about the monument and your work with the Greek Pontian community?
I had good cooperation, but some people did not like to follow me. But the people who follow me were good people. And I think everybody should be proud, all the Pontians and non-Pontians who contributed. Even one person from Greece sent $250. So I say that is a universal contribution. And everybody should be proud because we are leaving something to our neolea, to our youth,
for the generations.
to a new generation. It's permanent. It's made of granite. It's very hard. So if you like to have a memory, that's it. We transfer the baton to the new generation. It's their doing now.
Dr. Theodorides, I want to thank you for speaking with us today. And again, good luck with your endeavors in the future. Please keep in touch with us and let us know whatever you're working on.
Thank you. Trust me, I'm going to keep in touch with you people. Okay. This is a renewed friendship. And we're going to do it.
For more information about sponsoring or viewing the interview series, visit the Greek American Heritage Society of Philadelphia online at GAHSP.org.